As more people use ChatGPT, and it's becoming more common in 2026, well, going into 2026 now, being used so much in 2025, I think and I want to predict that 2026 will ruin so many relationships because so many people are using ChatGPT unless they stop. And here are 3 reasons why you need to stop using ChatGPT when it comes to your relationship. It's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in 2025, going through an insane breakup, is that I'm not saying the reason for the breakup was ChatGPT, but I tried to use ChatGPT as like a coping mechanism and like psychoanalyze and like talk to it while I was going through the breakup. Maybe I could have even saved my relationship if I didn't use ChatGPT. And I'm going to explain why. As more people, and I know this is a huge problem because I talk to people and I talk to a lot of people going through similar situations, not only through breakups or not only through or in relationships, but to themselves. A lot of people are lonely in this generation, and a lot of people don't really have too many people to talk to, too many friends, and aren't comfortable becoming vulnerable with another human. They aren't able to communicate and express the way that they feel, or they don't feel they have the capabilities or the trust with another human to open up and tell them what's going on inside their head, why they're feeling a certain way, or help communicate what's going on in their head to another person, so that maybe that other person could help them understand what's going on there through their head and help them understand their feelings. Because that's what, communication is for. That's what we're here to do as people, is to speak with one another, to understand and share life experiences so that we can better understand ourselves through other people. So I have 3 reasons really why ChatGPT will destroy relationships in 2026 if you continue to use it to, psychoanalyze yourself, psychoanalyze other people, and basically just talk to it like it's a therapist. Don't get me wrong, it's a great tool if used for the right things, but used as a therapist, used as like, I like to call it my friend, I like to call it my best friend. Like sometimes I just tell it shit that like I wouldn't even expect I would be, talking to it things. Like it's just easy to say things to something else that will respond. But in the long term, I've realized over the past 3 months, all it does is destroy your mental health more. And I only learned this from after, telling ChatGPT all these different things, and then finally being able to actually open up to all these things to actual humans. I realized a human in a face-to-face conversation is what is actually going to help you, and getting over that like scary, bump of, okay, what if this person judges me? Don't worry about that. Forget about it. Find somebody that you trust. It's easier said than done, obviously. But the one thing that I will say, the only thing that has helped, is that ChatGPT has been given me the ability to better understand myself so that I can open up to other people about the way I feel or what I'm going through or some of the thoughts that are going through my head. So if you're using it to better understand yourself, sure, it's a great tool to do that, because it has access to thousands of psychology articles, like studies and whatnot. So it's a great tool to self-understand yourself. But in like a therapeutic aspect, you still need that face-to-face conversation, because ChatGPT is not going to tell you another person's emotions. It can guess, it can predict, it can, think about how someone or something is feeling based on what you tell it, but it's not going to accurately describe how somebody is feeling based on messages you're sending it. So, how is it going to destroy relationships? Not only will it destroy relationships like friendships, but even romantic relationships. And here's Here's where it gets tricky. I predict, I could be wrong, divorce rates are going to go up. I predict, I could be wrong, but I think less people are going to get into relationships. More people are going to feel alone in relationships. More people are going to have strengthened, bonded, and like power couple relationships anymore. And here's 3 reasons why and how to avoid them and what to do about them. So number 1, the foundation of relationships are communication between 2 individuals. Think about why you like somebody versus why you don't like somebody. Right? You don't just love or like or talk to all 7, 8 billion people, whatever there are on this planet. And it's that for a reason. Well, number 1, it would be impossible to have a conversation with all 8 billion people face to face. It'd probably take you, lifetimes. But number 2, some people share things with you. Some people, you just have a connection with other people. And the foundation of relationships, between friendships, between partnerships, between, families, friends, cousins, and whatnot, is just basically talking. It's, at one point into a relationship, you get so far and deep into a relationship where you're just comfortable in each other's presence, and that's all that brings you happiness, when you're like 80 years old or something. But to form a strong relationship, you need to communicate. You need to talk about, what excites you, what some of your interests are, what some of the other person's interests are. You share some interests, you disagree on some things, and then, one person maybe, is able to change your mind. The other person is able to give you new perspectives. And that's how these relationships are formed. And that's how these relationships are based off of. But now, since we live in a generation of Tommy texters, like they say at Cineplex, everybody has something to say to each other behind the screen, right? Everybody's texting. And now, for example, you're texting with a partner. You don't want to say the wrong thing. In this case, this is what was kind of going through my mind. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I didn't want to, offend or, just out of fear, just say something wrong to the other person when we were going through this this breakup, or the beginning parts before it led to the breakup. You would ask ChatGPT, okay, what should I say? How should I answer? Or this is what I was doing. How should I answer to this text message? How should I answer to this text message? What does this person mean when this is copy and paste a message? Oh, what does this person mean when they said this? This is the message that they sent me. And then all that ChatGPT is doing, it is not emotionally processing these messages. Number 1, texting is the most horrible way to convey messages that are emotional. Number 1, they should be only face-to-face. But number 2, it's just logically scanning everything that it's saying, and it's just predicting based on logic. There is no tone. There is no facial expression. There is no meaning behind texts. All that there is just a monotone message. That's it. And explain to me how a language learning model, because that's all that ChatGPT is, language learning model, LLM, is supposed to analyze and understand what that person is saying. Sure, you can give it as much context as you'd like. If there is no emotional, physical, or even present communication through that. So if you're communicating between 2 individuals and you're bringing in almost like a bridge, then this bridge is basically communicating between you 2. Because even if this one person isn't, let's say, communicating with ChatGPT and is directly communicating to you, but you're using on this side ChatGPT, and you're basically feeding this AI everything that this person is saying. So let's say this person sends it to you, but you send it to ChatGPT, have ChatGPT analyze it, and then you understand it and analyze it the way that ChatGPT analyzes it. You could be receiving the completely wrong message from this person, from person A, that is supposed to be received to person B, just because you're bridging it through an AI. So this person could be like, I don't like, best example I've heard is when I was listening to a pastor speak on like the difficulty of understanding women and women's language. And he said, and this was the example this pastor gave, it was actually a guy, not a she. A woman says, I have nothing to wear. A man understands that, okay, maybe all her clothes are dirty. Because if a man says, I have nothing to wear, it means, all of his clothes are in the laundry and he has like nothing to wear. But a woman says that, and she says what it actually means is she has lots of clothes, because we all know women have thousands of clothes. Is she's saying, I want something new to wear. I don't like all my old clothes. But if you input this to ChatGPT and ask it, what does person A mean by when she says this? It will literally logically tell you, this person has nothing to wear. They are out of clothes. All their clothes, whatever it can come up with, have been, are sold, because it is taking that message as point blank. So if you are using an AI to bridge a conversation between two human individuals, it is just going to perskew or mess up your perspective of what this person is communicating to each other. So, number one, don't bridge your messages through ChatGPT, especially in this society of texters. But number two, try to understand what that person means. And the only way that you'll truly understand, sure, FaceTime video chats are great, but the way that you'll truly understand is, number one, by asking better questions, but by number two, being face-to-face to the person, especially during difficult conversations. Never have difficult conversations over text, number one, and never invite an AI to communicate or bridge your communications to you, because it's just going to end up completely not understanding both sides. Both sides won't understand each other. Number two, relationships are built off physical attraction towards one another and emotional connection, not logical, robotic language. Physical attraction and emotional connection. Am I physically attracted to this person? Do we have an emotional connection? There are, like I said earlier, 8 billion people on this earth. You can have some people you will not have an emotional connection to. Why? Because, you're not attracted to them. You don't like the way that they speak. They're too monotone. They don't have anything interesting to say. So you're not like emotionally pulled by them. Or, some people have standards where they're like, I need a good listener. I need somebody who will be able to understand me through specific scenarios that I'm trying to communicate. Or, this person can't make me laugh. These are all like emotional pillars to a relationship. Humor is a huge one for most people. And for me too, like when I look for something in a partner, is that number one, can they make me laugh? Number two, can they maintain a conversation? And then number three, obviously, okay, maybe number one is probably, am I attracted to this person? Like, are my eyes like, wow, like, this person's beautiful kind of thing. This is partners. Like this whole, this video is based on like partners, like relationships, like physical, sexual, loving relationships, but it can also be used for like friendships, parents and kids, and also just friendships as well. But It's mostly for romantic relationships. So number 2, you need to be physically and emotionally connected to this person. Nowadays, most relationships start online. Whether it be, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, if you said bless you, thank you. If you didn't, leave the video. You're an asshole. I'm just kidding. Yeah, most relationships nowadays, they don't start like they used to start in the old days. You'd meet somebody in person, you'd build like some sort of connection. There's chemistry between you two. Nowadays, all relationships, or 80% of the ones that I hear, and oh, where'd you guys meet? When I talk to people, oh, Tinder, oh, Instagram, whatever. Great, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. Regardless of the fact, now more people, they're not going to follow what their heart says. Because your heart and your soul is basically the gateway to another person's heart and soul, right? To connect with another person on a romantic level, you have to communicate through your heart to what you feel and what you're thinking about and how you're attracted to this person, to the other person. Why are you attracted to them? Why you like spending time with them? And if you're trying to, how it is in online dating nowadays, like get a partner or something, or message somebody on like Tinder or something, and you don't know what to say, or like why you're sliding in their DMs, or how to have or start a conversation, it's just going to end badly on your behalf. Because let's say, okay, ChatGPT comes up with the most creative messages for you to say over the internet. Oh, hey, I saw your picture, your hair looks beautiful. Whatever it may be, that gets her, oh wow, he's complimenting me. When it's not really you, it's just a fucking robot. And then in person, when you finally meet up, because, hopefully you're not just going to have a internet relationship. When in person you meet up, what's going to happen? It's just going to fail because you haven't built those basic communication skills. You don't know how to flirt. You don't know how to compliment. You don't know how to express interest without looking like a weirdo or like a creep. So the only thing that's going to happen is you're just going to have more bad dates. You're just going to keep shooting your shots, and it's not going to go in the way that you hope or want it to go. Right? Because if you think about it, okay, let's say you manage to land a date because you're flirting with another girl online using a robot. Right? She agrees to have a date with you, and then you go into the restaurant, and then you're just like some shy guy who doesn't even know how to like answer questions or ask questions or seem interesting or be able to, present your way in a way where it's like, oh wow, this person's really interesting. How's it going to work out for you? You're just going to be wasting your time. So at the end of the day, all it is going to require is reps for you. You're going to need to learn how to speak to women, how to communicate with them, and how to understand their feelings and emotions, because those are insane things to understand. When women will say one thing and they'll mean another. Trust me. I learned the hard way. Let me give you an example about that. So, when I was going through this recent breakup with my partner, what ended up happening was she was basically telling me, because she moved across the world, I was supposed to come with her, but then, some stuff ended up happening. And the point that I'm trying to make is she was basically telling me, oh, okay, don't come here. Remember when I said when women say one thing, they really mean another. Men take that as like logically, or like, oh, okay, she clearly doesn't want me to come here. But me being a fool that I was, I had to, run everything through ChatGPT. oh, okay, this is what she's saying. And then ChatGPT just basically told me, yeah, do not go after her because she doesn't want you to come there. And this isn't like chasing or simping or anything like that. This is a totally different story. There's a time to simp, there's a time to chase, but then there's a time to also not chase, right? Especially in like a man's world, it's like you want to attract rather than chase, but there's also a time to chase for different reasons and different, obviously, goals in a relationship. Some women like to be chased, and at times you need to know when to chase rather when to attract, because like a relationship it's kind of like a yin and yang, push and pull. So sometimes you need to be the chaser and sometimes you need to be the attractor. In this case, I needed to do the chasing. Later on, now after 3 months gone by and having a human-to-human conversation with this person, all she told me was, oh, I just wanted you to show up and I wanted you to show me that you cared and wanted to fight for us, because it felt like you just gave up. But what was going on through my mind, and because I was, talking with ChatGPT rather than an actual human, all that ChatGPT was saying, yeah, she clearly doesn't want you to come, do not chase. She's telling you this, listen and respect her wishes. Why? Because again, there was no emotional understanding behind the context that was being conveyed to me. And if you don't, especially during, important conversations, filter through things emotionally and understand the emotional language, because there's logical language and there's emotional language, right? It's kind of like a guy's nature of speaking and a woman's nature of speaking. But you have to, as you grow up as a man, understand the woman's nature of speaking and become that rock. Because she is going to go through hormonal up and downs, emotional swings and whatnot, just because that's the way that women are. Some men are like that too. I'm not just specifically pointing out at women, but most women communicate emotionally, where men filter things logically, and similar to ChatGPT actually. But as a man, you need to learn how to understand things logically, but also filter through things emotionally so that you can have an understanding and not be moved. Like God calls us to be the rock. Women, when in these emotional states, will cause you, if you are not a strong man and an emotionally attuned man, to turn you into an emotional little bitch as well. So that's why learning emotional understanding, learning how to stay still and respond back emotionally, filtering it through emotionally, and also responding with logic is just going to be your basic help. In the simplest terms, to give you an example, in my case, for example, a woman says, "Don't chase me, I don't want you to come." I took this logically. Okay, you don't want me to come. What she was saying emotionally was, I want to see if you'll fight for me. I want to see if I'm worth him fighting, if I'm worth his time fighting for. Do I really mean something for him? Will he just follow what I say, or will he follow his heart's direction and do as his heart feels? Because as shitty as it is to be a man, women will do a shit ton of things to test you. And they're not going to tell you, they're just going to say things and test you at times. They're going to test that, like that's how a real feminine woman tests a masculine man. She says things to, see if he'll shake, see if he'll break, or see if he's still that rock while she's going through these emotional roller coasters. Because, biologically, like when it comes to even if you like, I like to think about it like even deeper. Like when it comes to like childbirth, you think a woman is just going to be like, neutral and logical? No, she's going to be the most, I'm sorry to say it, but like the most craziest version of herself. Like during pregnancy, after pregnancy. How do I know? Because I've talked to a lot of women that have gone through pregnancies, but also it's also kind of like studies done, and like you can learn how to deal with like women's emotions and whatnot when they're in these like pregnancies phases and whatnot. But yeah, she's slowly testing you, especially in an early stage of a relationship. Will this guy be able to handle me later on down the line? Right? They might not even know that they're testing you themselves, but they're just subconsciously testing you because that's the way that their biological programming was designed for. Again, learn how to understand emotional communication through women, and you will not understand this through a robot. You will not understand this through ChatGPT because it doesn't have emotional understanding. There's a reason that this AI will never be able to do creative and emotional work, because it's just based on logics, facts, and data. So do not communicate emotional moments, emotional heightened things, and filter it through a robot, because you will completely get the wrong message communicated to you. And number 3, the most important one. Humans are consistently growing and maturing, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Your grandparents' relationship at 30 years old, when they were 30 years old together in love, is not the same as they are now when they're 70, 80. Same thing as when your grandparents' relationships at 40 versus at 50. Every, half a decade to a decade, people grow, evolve, mature. And the point of a relationship is to pick a partner to do life with, not against. Let me repeat that, because this is very important. People think they're just going to get into relationships just because they feel some sort of spark. They're going to get into a relationship because they feel some sort of, attraction. I feel attracted. Great. Attraction is good for the beginning of stages, to get noticed. But the point of a relationship is to pick a partner to do life with. Your polar opposite. You want somebody who is going to go through the ups and downs with you, who is going to stick through those ups and downs with you. Relationships go through ups and downs, highs and lows. The lows are what strengthen the highs to get through the lows. Let me repeat that. Relationships go through ups and downs, highs and lows. And the lows are what strengthen the highs. And to get through the lows, you need to communicate to each other and understand each other, because you're constantly evolving. You're not having the same life experience as your partner, right? Your partner is going through, especially with social media, is constantly being brainwashed by whatever algorithms and people and videos that they're watching, right? They're basically being put, and their morals, their values are just being fed to them by other people. That's why I deleted social media, and it's why it's been the best thing for my personal growth. It's because I'm not being told anymore how to live. I'm not being told anymore, this is how it should be done. This is how a woman should treat you. This is how a man should treat you. This is how you should run your business. This is what kind of business you should start. Because these are all experiences from other people's life experiences. It worked for them. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that's the most important thing to understand. Now we live in an age where it's just information overload to people. People are talking and expressing and basically communicating all of their ideas. Like even now I'm doing to you, right? If some people, who knows, it may work and they may have the greatest relationship with another person using ChatGPT. But for me, it was the worst idea to use ChatGPT to filter, not all, obviously, because sometimes you're having a face-to-face conversation, you're not filtering anything, but some conversations through ChatGPT and more of the meaningful ones. And the biggest mistake that I learned that I want to share with you guys is do not have serious conversations over text. Because like I said, we live in a society where texting is the new norm. It wasn't like this 50 years ago. That's why you see, our grandparents have love that some of us don't even understand. It's because they had all their communication face to face, not through a device. But yeah, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the highs and the lows. Like I said, people are constantly growing, maturing, evolving. The same person you're at 20 years old is not the same person you're going to be at 50 years old. But the point of this is as you're growing, you pick a partner to go through life with. That's why one of the biggest things, like some of the things I agree with what Andrew Tate says, some of the things I don't. He's really, obviously he says crazy stuff. But one of the biggest things that stood out to me, what he says, was this guy has everything you can ever ask for in life. The woman, the money, the cars, the lifestyle, just everything to his disposal. The connections, the power, the fame, whatever. But the one biggest regret that he says he has in life is not being with one woman through his entire life. He says if he can go back, he would be with one woman for the entirety of his life. Why? Because, and it took me a while to understand this, and I understand why it's so important, is because relationships are just like the stock market. It's a compounding effect. That's all that it is. And the more you're in the stock market, the longer you're in the stock market, the S&P 500, take it for example, long term, the better. The better ROI you're going to have. Why? Because by the time you're 60, you're going to be able to, God lets you live till 60, 70, 80. You're going to be able to reminisce with that same person all the times that you had when you were 15 years old, if that's when you started dating. Why do you think there's arranged marriages in, for example, some cultures at 18 years old? Because they understand this concept and idea of compound effect. Think about how miserable your life would be if you were basically just swing trading relationships. Getting into a relationship, getting out the moment it got hard. In, out, in, out, in, out. The moment you see a dip, you're out of a relationship, right? Think about how fucked up that is. What kind of a reality would that be? What kind of a partnership, what kind of a connection would you be able to even build with that kind of person? The way that you build connection and relationship with people is staying through the difficult times, is growing together through the difficult times, understanding each other as you're growing up and as you're evolving, right? But the key message in how it relates to AI and ChatGPT is that if, and this is the mistake that I did, if you're not communicating your growth to the other person, then it's just going to seem like you're just kind of living your life on your own, and this person is just like a tail. It's like your tail. You cannot just do life on your own. You have to communicate your growth. You have to communicate how you're changing. Obviously, people, if you don't communicate how you're changing, all the other person is going to see is, oh, this person's changed and they're off. You know, they don't want me in their life anymore. But the way that you communicate change is by, you know, talking to the other person about the ideas that you're getting, the different views, the different morals that you stand for, the different ideas, the different things that you think as right and as wrong. Right? There's so many people when they're 16 years old, they think drinking and driving is the coolest thing ever. And by the time they get to 25, their whole perspective and mind shifts on that. I'm not saying I was one of those people, because I always thought, you know, it was drilled into my mind as a young person, do not drink and drive. And I've had lots of experiences in my life and, you know, watching other people who did do that, how they ruin their lives and what it does to them. But if you're not communicating these different changes that you're having in your mind to the other person, how are they going to be able to follow along with your growth? Change is good. Change is not bad. Change signals growth. But if you do not communicate that change and just expect the other person to, you know, presume or assume they know what kind of change you're going through, then what's going to happen? All you're going to do is drift further and further and further apart. You're not going to be able to understand each other and have that deep level of trust because you don't know that person anymore. This person has changed completely, and now you're trying to basically psychoanalyze this person's change with ChatGPT, and like you're trying to understand where they're coming from or what they're saying or why they mean the things that they mean. So yeah, this was just like my little unscripted video on why I think ChatGPT will, you know, ruin a lot of relationships. So moral of the story, just to take away, do not use ChatGPT to filter conversations. Do not use ChatGPT to communicate to other people. You know, emails to your boss and to your coworkers, that's one thing. But feelings, the things that you're going through, like even just like on an individualistic level, talk to another human about what you're going through, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, rather than this fucking stupid robot. Sure, it's going to help you better understand yourself, but once you understand yourself, communicate those understandings to another person, or else it's just going to ruin your mental health in the long term. Right? Because we were wired to talk face to face and that's why empathy exists. Have another person empathize with what we're saying to them. But if you just hold everything, you know, kind of bottled up in here, one day you're just going to explode. People around you are going to suffer. And it's just not going to end well. Let me know if you guys like these unscripted videos. I'm going to make on this channel, it's going to be like two kinds of videos. Unscripted, like self-development videos, and then like scripted actionable tips. Basically, you know, obviously like how to get fit, how to stay fit, how to lose weight, how to lose fat, and basically how to get in the best shape of your life with the least amount of effort. If you want to work with me, check out the links below. If not, like the video, share it with somebody who could benefit from it. Like always, subscribe if you're new, create more than you consume, serve others, love everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.